Most people over 65 believe they're doing the right thing for their legs. They walk every morning, they sit down and elevate their feet in the evening. Some even wear compression socks faithfully, just like their doctor suggested. And yet, their feet still feel cold, their ankles still swell by dinner time, their legs still burn or ache at night. And slowly, almost quietly, their balance begins to fade. Here's the uncomfortable question most people never think to ask. What if the exercise you've been told is good for circulation is no longer enough for your body after 65? I see this pattern again and again across America. Retirees in Florida walking their neighborhoods, grandparents in the Midwest pacing the mall in winter, older couples in California doing laps around the block after dinner. They're disciplined, they're trying, but their legs aren't responding the way they used to. And that's not just frustrating, it's dangerous, because poor circulation isn't simply about discomfort. It's about what happens when blood doesn't reach your feet efficiently, and just as importantly, when it can't travel back up to your heart. That's when healing slows, small cuts linger, infections become harder to fight, balance weakens, and one unexpected fall can change everything. Independence, confidence, even where you're able to live. What makes this especially concerning is that these changes rarely announce themselves loudly. There's no sudden pain, no emergency, just subtle signs most people brush off as getting older. Meanwhile, the heart and blood vessels are quietly under strain. So here's the big question you should be asking yourself today. If I'm staying active, why are my legs getting worse instead of stronger? The answer has less to do with effort, and much more to do with how blood actually moves in an aging body. And once you understand that, everything about exercise after 65 starts to look very different. To understand why so many adults over 65 struggle with leg circulation despite staying active, we first need to clear up a major misunderstanding. Poor circulation isn't a single problem, it's a chain reaction. And it usually develops slowly enough that people don't realize what's happening until everyday life becomes harder. In a healthy younger body, blood moves down to the legs easily and returns upward just as efficiently. Strong arteries deliver oxygen-rich blood. Firm veins and active muscles push it back toward the heart. But as we age, that system changes. Arteries can stiffen and narrow, veins lose elasticity, and the muscles that once helped pump blood upward, especially in the lower legs, gradually weaken if they're not used in the right way. That's why many older adults notice subtle signs long before a diagnosis ever appears. Feet that feel colder than they used to, even in warm rooms. Ankles that swell by late afternoon. Legs that feel heavy or tired after simple errands. Nighttime cramping. A burning or tingling sensation that comes and goes. These symptoms are often dismissed as normal aging, but they're actually early warnings that blood isn't circulating efficiently. The risk increases significantly after 65, especially for people who sit for long periods, drive frequently, or spend hours watching television. Add common factors like high blood pressure, diabetes, a history of smoking, or carrying extra weight, and the circulatory system is placed under even more strain. Family history matters too. If heart disease or vascular issues run in your family, your legs are often the first place problems appear. What makes this issue dangerous isn't just discomfort, it's what follows. Reduced circulation slows healing. Minor scrapes can turn into lingering sores. Swelling places pressure on joints and nerves. Balance reactions slow because muscles aren't receiving consistent oxygen and feedback. That's why circulation problems are closely linked to falls, loss of mobility, and declining independence in older Americans. Here's the part many people don't expect. Simply moving more doesn't always fix the problem. Walking is healthy, but it doesn't automatically activate the specific muscle pumps responsible for returning blood from the lower legs back to the heart. Without targeted movement, blood can continue to pool, even in people who believe they're doing everything right. And that misunderstanding is exactly where most circulation advice falls short. To protect your legs, your balance, and your independence, you need to know which parts of the body actually drive blood flow, and how to keep them working as you age. This is where most people finally have their aha moment, because once you understand how blood actually moves in aging legs, it becomes clear why so many well-intentioned efforts fail. and why certain simple movements make such a dramatic difference. Let's start with a truth that surprises many older adults. Your heart is not doing all the work of circulation, especially after 65. When blood travels down to your feet, gravity helps. But getting that blood back up to your heart is a different challenge entirely. The body relies on a system of one-way valves in the veins, and more importantly, on muscle contractions to physically push blood upward. This is not abstract theory, it's basic mechanics. The most powerful of these helpers is located in a place most people overlook: the calves. Doctors often refer to the calf muscles as the body's second heart. Every time they contract, they squeeze deep veins in the lower leg, forcing blood upward against gravity. When they relax, the veins refill. This pumping cycle keeps blood moving, prevents pooling, and reduces pressure in the lower legs. Here's the problem. After retirement, this pump often becomes underused. Think about daily American life after 65. Long breakfasts at the table, time spent driving instead of walking, hours watching television or reading. Even people who take daily walks may only activate their calves lightly and briefly. Walking uses momentum. It doesn't always demand strong, sustained calf contractions, especially if pace slows with age. Over time, the calf pump weakens. When that happens, blood begins to linger in the ankles and feet. Swelling becomes more common. Oxygen delivery drops. Nerves become more sensitive. Healing slows, and balance starts to suffer. This explains why early warning signs often appear long before serious diagnoses. Cold feet that don't warm up easily. Shoes feeling tighter by evening. Sock marks that linger on the skin. Legs that feel heavy or fatigued after standing in line at the grocery store. These aren't random annoyances, they're signals. If the issue continues unchecked, more advanced symptoms can develop. Persistent swelling, skin that becomes shiny or fragile, changes in color. Pain during walking that improves with rest. In more severe cases, sores that heal slowly or not at all. These are not just leg problems, they reflect stress throughout the cardiovascular system. One of the most dangerous misconceptions is believing that more walking alone will solve this. Walking is excellent for heart health, mood, and overall mobility. But it does not consistently create the type of muscle contraction needed to fully empty the veins in the lower legs. That's why some older adults walk every day and still see their circulation worsen. Another common mistake is focusing only on passive solutions. Elevating the legs helps temporarily, but once you stand up, gravity takes over again. Compression socks can reduce swelling, but they don't strengthen the muscles responsible for circulation. Without active pumping, the underlying problem remains. Let's look at balance for a moment, because this is where circulation and independence intersect. Good balance depends on rapid communication between muscles, nerves, and the brain. When blood flow is sluggish, muscles fatigue faster and respond more slowly. Small corrections, the kind that prevent a stumble from becoming a fall, are delayed. That's why people with poor circulation often feel unsteady, even if they haven't fallen yet. And once someone falls, everything accelerates in the wrong direction. Confidence drops, movement decreases, muscles weaken further, circulation slows even more. This downward spiral is one of the most common pathways from independence to assisted living in older Americans. But here's the encouraging part. This process is not inevitable. Research and rehabilitation experience consistently show that targeted muscle activation can dramatically improve circulation, even in people well into their 70s and 80s. Muscles respond to use at any age. Blood vessels respond to pressure changes. The nervous system adapts when given the right signals. The key is choosing movements that deliberately activate the muscle pumps responsible for venous return. Movements that create controlled contractions, not just steps. Movements that hold tension long enough to push blood upward instead of letting it settle. This is why surgeons and physical therapists prioritize specific exercises after leg surgery or periods of immobility. Not because they're flashy, not because they burn calories, but because they restore the mechanics of blood flow. When done correctly, these movements create noticeable changes. Warmer feet, reduced swelling, improved endurance, better balance, and increased confidence while standing or walking. People often report sleeping better because nighttime leg discomfort decreases. Everyday tasks feel easier. Fear of falling begins to fade. Perhaps most importantly, these improvements reinforce activity. When movement feels safer and less painful, people move more. And that positive cycle strengthens circulation further. The tragedy is that many older adults are never taught this. They're told to stay active without being shown how the body actually works after 65. As a result, they blame themselves when walking doesn't fix the problem, assuming decline is unavoidable. It isn't. Understanding the difference between general activity and circulation-driven movement is the turning point. Once that distinction is clear, prevention becomes practical instead of overwhelming. And that brings us to the most important question of all. What can you do every day, safely, realistically, and without extreme effort, to keep blood moving, protect your balance, and support long-term independence? That's exactly what we'll cover next. Once you understand how circulation actually works in the aging body, the solution becomes far less complicated than most people expect. Improving blood flow after 65 isn't about pushing harder or exercising longer. It's about supporting your body with small, consistent habits that keep muscles active, blood moving, and recovery possible. First, let's talk about daily movement. Walking still matters. It supports heart health, mood, and joint mobility. But walking works best when it's combined with targeted movements that activate the muscle pumps in the legs, especially the calves and thighs. Short sessions of deliberate leg activation spread throughout the day are often more effective than one long walk. Think of movement as something you sprinkle into your day, not something you finish and forget. Next is lifestyle positioning. Long periods of sitting slow circulation dramatically. If you watch television, read, or use a computer, try to change position at least every 30–45 minutes. Even standing up briefly or moving your ankles and legs while seated helps prevent blood from pooling. Elevating your legs can reduce swelling temporarily, but it should support, not replace, active movement. Nutrition also plays a quiet but important role. Staying well hydrated helps blood flow more easily. Diets that emphasize vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, and healthy fats support blood vessel health over time. Excess salt can worsen swelling for many people, while poor blood sugar control can damage circulation in the legs and feet. Simple, steady habits matter more than strict rules. Don't overlook sleep and recovery. Circulation improves when the body is rested. Poor sleep increases inflammation, worsens swelling, and slows healing. Creating a consistent sleep routine, even if it means small adjustments like earlier dinners or reduced screen time, can make a noticeable difference in how your legs feel during the day. Finally, it's important to know when to involve a doctor. Persistent swelling, skin color changes, pain while walking that eases with rest, open sores, or sudden changes in temperature or sensation in the feet should never be ignored. These signs don't mean something terrible is inevitable, but they do mean it's time for professional evaluation. Early attention almost always leads to better outcomes. The most important takeaway is this: circulation health after 65 is manageable. It responds to attention, consistency, and understanding. You don't need extreme workouts, expensive equipment, or complicated routines. You need awareness and daily support for the systems that keep blood moving. And when those systems are supported, people don't just feel better. They stay active, confident, and independent longer. If there's one message to take away today, it's this: changes in leg circulation after 65 are not a personal failure. And they are not something you have to accept as just aging. They're signals. And when you understand what those signals mean, you can respond in ways that genuinely support your body. Strong circulation isn't built through extreme effort. It's built through awareness, consistency, and movements that work with your physiology instead of against it. Small daily actions, activating the right muscles, avoiding long periods of stillness, supporting recovery, add up over time. And those habits protect more than your legs. They protect your balance, your confidence, and your ability to live life on your own terms. If you recognized yourself in any part of this conversation, the swelling, the heaviness, the unsteadiness, you're not alone. Millions of older adults experience the same concerns, often without ever being shown clear, practical guidance. Now we'd love to hear from you. Have you noticed changes in your legs or balance recently? Or are there habits you're starting to reconsider after watching this? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Reading and learning from one another helps everyone. And before you go, take a moment to continue with the next video on your screen. It walks through a simple, wall-supported movement many people overlook, yet doctors say it can dramatically improve leg strength, stability, and confidence after 65 when done correctly. Thank you for spending this time with us. Take care of your body. It's been carrying you a long way, and it still has more to do.